Hello and welcome. I want to thank you for taking some time out of your Tuesday afternoon to join us for today's webinar. Honestly, the fact that you are watching a webinar about how to change your e-commerce platform is a bit telling. It says that you're having some kind of a trouble and there's some aspect of your e-commerce business that isn't going just as you'd like, and that you probably believe that trouble, that problem, has something to do with your software. You are not alone. Many established e-commerce companies, I'm talking about those with thousands of customers, hundreds or thousands of products, and a lot of site traffic, they come to a point where they realize that they've outgrown, or at least grown in a different direction than their current e-commerce platform. But the process of choosing a new platform, one that accommodates your existing business practices and workflows, but also solves the problems that you're facing, isn't easy. It's complex. It's challenging. And choosing the wrong platform can greatly harm your company. Now, fortunately, I believe this short webinar will give you some help. It's my aim to describe some of the signs that it's time to change your e-commerce platform and provide you with some insights for choosing your next e-commerce platform. I'm going to talk about the sorts of steps you'll need to take as you migrate from one e-commerce business platform to another, and offer some advice, some suggestions, if you will, for minimizing the disruptions to your business. Now, before I get too much further along, though, I should introduce myself, talk to you about the sponsor's webinar, and show you our agenda. So first of all, my name is Armando Emmanuel Roggio. I am a contributing editor for Practical E-commerce, and I'm also an e-commerce practitioner, if you will, in that I serve as the Director of Marketing and E-commerce for a multi-channel retailer selling online, selling in stores. Altogether, I guess I have about 17 years of marketing, advertising, and e-commerce experience. And I'm also especially familiar with today's topic as I have managed several platform migrations, and I am, in fact, just 2 weeks away from today going to be relaunching a retail site after trading out a popular enterprise-level e-commerce platform for one that's frankly up and coming, a little bit surprising to some folks. Before we get into the agenda today, though, I do need to take a moment to first introduce and then thank today's sponsor. You know, we love doing these webinars, but the truth is that we couldn't do it without the support that we get from our sponsors. Today, it is my pleasure to introduce you to Web to Market. If you are looking to solve challenges, capture opportunities, sell more, manage better, then Web to Market is an e-commerce solutions provider offering strategy, design, development, managed services for the Magento and the Able Commerce platforms. They've got expert advice. They can give you guidance and solutions that go from concept to implementation. They have information about user experiences, how to engage, excite, and sell to those that do come to your e-commerce website. They can help you implement strategies by leveraging the latest technologies and the best practices. And, of course, they can also help you with things like hosting and consulting and system support and more. That's Web to Market. We really appreciate them for sponsoring today's webinar. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a presentation, obviously talk about how to migrate, and then we'll hear a little bit about what our sponsor can do as well. Okay, so on to our agenda and how we're going to attack our topic today, this migratory topic. I won't read this slide to you. I'll let you take a quick look. I've got a lot of words on there. Key things to note we're going to be talking about is this fight or flight. Okay, so this is going to be an analogy that I'm hopefully going to use well to make the point today. Fight or flight is a response. It appears in humans and animals, and if you talk to psychologists, they can tell you a lot about it. Basically, when there is some kind of a challenge to an organism, an animal, a person, there's going to be a biological response. This image that you're looking at actually comes from Wikimedia, and if we look at it, what we're seeing is that your body basically takes these steps. There's this point at which you identify the threat. The attack, if you will, is imminent. You can see it coming. Then there's something that your brain does, if you will. This is where the business takes a look at what's going on, does some analysis. There may be, at the next step, some preparation for action. In your body, you're going to have certain chemicals, hormones that are excreted, ACTH, and your body is essentially going to be releasing cortisol and adrenaline. In the analogy to a business, what we're going to be talking about here is that you have to take some steps to prepare to move forward. And then finally, obviously, you're going to have to take some action. We need to make a key distinction between problems that are severe enough, again, to change from one platform to another, effectively, pulling the guts out of your business, and problems that can be addressed within the platform. So let's take a look at several of these common problems and how you might decide if this is something that requires a platform change or if this is something that you could, that you could take care of outside of that. We're going to look first at site performance problems. In my opinion, site performance is one of the most important things you can do. There was some data from Amazon that said that as much as a quarter of a second faster increased the amount of conversions that you got. There was data that came from Kissmetrics that said 47% of online shoppers expect a website to load in 2 seconds or less. Kissmetrics also reported that if your e-commerce site takes longer than 3 seconds to load, about 40% of online shoppers, 4 out of 6 people, will just simply move on. So if your site is not loading, that's a severe problem. Not loading fast enough, that's a severe problem. You've really got to do something about it. Some of the things that you can do, first and foremost, is just to go in to Google Analytics, look at the site speed overview, and you may find that you'll be able to identify the problem, and it may not have to do with your platform. One of the things you can look for here is how much time is being spent with the client, the web browser, calling to the server versus how much time is being spent with the web browser actually building the page on the browser, in the browser for the customer to see. The reason that this can be a distinction in your platform, or at least help you identify where in the platform you're having the problem, is that these can be separate things. Within the browser itself, if you are having a lot of slowdown, it could be that you could solve that problem by taking the images, for example, and moving those to a content delivery network. Amazon has great clouds. There's other hosting services that have great clouds. You could move this to a CDN. That alone could significantly speed up your site and make a difference in the performance problem, and you won't have had to change your e-commerce platform. When you're looking at performance, I would recommend go to Google Analytics to see where the speed problems are for you. Next up, your e-commerce website, in a sense, is only as good as its ability to handle its peak traffic. As your website's popularity increases, or during holidays or other peak seasons, it must be able to scale with minimal effort so that you can avoid a loss in sales, unhappy customers, or even disproportionate site hosting charges. I mean, sometimes when you scale, you're going to have to pay more. It depends on your host. So you want to make sure that you're choosing an e-commerce platform that allows you to scale, does it in an effective way, right? So things to think about. What's the peak number of visits or sessions, if you're using the new terminology from Google Analytics, that your site has to support? So for your best season, if that's Christmas, if it's some other time of the year, how many visits, sessions do you need to be able to support? How many orders per day does the site need to be able to handle? How many page views per visit do you want to be able to handle on average? How big or complex is the product catalog? How many categories are there? Products? How many SKUs or stock keeping units are there? And then what's the average response time of the home page and typical detail pages for products or category pages? How much hardware, software infrastructure are you required to have to handle these volumes? And then, what kind of a platform behaves well in that space? One of the things I like to do in this area, there is actually a tool called the Low Orbit Ion Cannon. It's a piece of software that you can download. And basically what it does is, and perhaps the creators of it wouldn't want me to describe it this way, but it emulates or actually does a denial of service attack. It essentially hits your domain over and over and over again as if you were getting a lot of traffic. And in a development environment, emphasis on development environment, this is a tool that you can use to go ahead and test the resilience and scalability of your platform and see if you can scale up and how effectively you can. Okay, order processing is another area wherein a failure from your e-commerce platform can have a significant impact on the cost of fulfilling orders. That we had a system, a platform that was built to supposedly be able to print labels for all of the major carriers. With each carrier and with each type of printer, we were going to have a certification done, and did have certifications done. But then anytime that you wanted to make a change other than, to some blocks that you had identified as blocks for marketing, you had to go through that process again. The other challenge was that if you wanted to switch the kind of printers that you were using, you again had to go through and do this. And ultimately what we ended up with was a workflow that didn't really work. It meant that the people who were packing the orders had to take orders that were going to be shipped via the United States Postal Service, and because of these limitations and the constant need to have things certified, they would print that out on one kind of a printer. And then there were the orders that came from FedEx, and they would print that out on another kind of printer. And then things that we were going to be shipping UPS, that was a third printer. That's a breaking, if you will, in the order process era. Product catalog management and importing problems can also be something that will impact the front end and the back end of your site. As an example, you might have a problem with site hierarchy. Does the site allow products to be in multiple categories? Does your platform use categories to absolutely define your navigation? This is actually something that many e-commerce platforms do, but it creates a sort of a challenge for you, because what if you don't want that category to appear in there? Or what if you want it to have 5 categories show up your navigation and then an all that shows you another 10 categories? Do you have to create sort of a fake all category and make those children to that? How do you do it? How do you manage inventory from an external source? If you happen to sell products in multiple channels, how do you keep that inventory straight within the e-commerce platform? Does it allow you to do inventory imports? Can you do it through an API? This is another example of where you can have a problem because of the platform. Next up, talking about identity problems, if you will. There was a paper about the technical aspects of e-commerce platform selection. It came out from Cisco. And in that, Cisco pointed out that system agility is a key factor for success. Basically, if you identify a problem and request a change to that, or a fix, if you will, in the user environment, how quickly can you deal with that? How quickly can you make the change? If every change to the platform requires an extensive or expensive solution that takes maybe weeks to develop, it might be time for you to look at a new platform. Search is another one that I want to mention here. Search, in my opinion, is one of the most important e-commerce site features, and this is increasingly true as shoppers engage on mobile devices. So if you're getting the complaint, hey, your search stinks, or I couldn't find this, you probably have a search problem. Now, depending on how extensible your current e-commerce platform is, search can be a real deal killer. If you're dealing with some of the platforms that require you to have a built-in search or make it difficult for you to use a superior third-party search, this is a time that you want to look perhaps at a new platform. The final area wherein online retailers can experience relationship-breaking problems, those problems that lead to you choosing a new platform, in my opinion, is the area of integration. Simply, how easy is it for your platform to work with other important systems in your business? So try to sum up what I've just kind of gone over. There are, all these problems: performance, scalability, order management, order processing, product catalog management, import problems, control and agility problems, search problems, integration problems. These are all problems that can lead to you needing, if you will, to change your platform. Okay. So you've decided, right, in our analogy back to the fight or flight, you have decided that you've got some problems. And you have done some business analysis, understanding if the problem is something that you should go about fighting, if you will, the current platform, or if you've chosen to move on to the next one, if you've taken flight. And here's the process that I would propose. So you've said, okay, we're done fighting our current platform. We're going to take a new platform. How do we go about looking for it? The first thing I would suggest is you need to identify everything that your old platform did well. We want to ensure that you don't lose what is good as you move from one platform to the next. Next, consider how the new platform will address the problems that caused your last breakup. Consider how the new platform is likely to perform in areas that you've identified as potential problems. And then finally, you're going to want to test that new platform under stress. So before you ever go live, before you ever announce to the world that you've got this new site out there, you need to have built it in a development environment and hammered it with a low ion can and other things, stressed it, and really tested to make sure that the platform is the one you want to marry, if you will, for the next few years. Once you've identified that platform and you've done a good job of testing it and you've given it to the people who are going to have to use it on a day-to-day basis and let them work with it, you can begin to prepare for the transition. So now it's time for the organization to be ready to take action. This means that there's going to be some changes in how individuals do their daily job. You're going to want to deal first with the workflow training. You know, what kinds of things do we need to teach workers so that we minimize disruptions to our business? And this is a time, too, I guess, to think about, you know, do you want to have not just an e-commerce platform, but you want to have something that is a particular order management system. Sometimes, you know, finding the right order management system will allow you to have an interface that's separate from the e-commerce platform. If you needed to change that again in the future, you'd be able to do that more easily. Another thing you want to look at this point is, I think, your category hierarchy. As you move from one site to the next, this is a time where you can fix some things that maybe were wrong in your hierarchy, and sort of make it more intuitive for customers. Prepare for the improved integration capabilities. Are there systems within your company that you're currently using that never really worked well with your e-commerce platform? And in this new platform, is there the opportunity for integration so that maybe the way that a person had been working isn't going to change, but that, you know, the final step in the process of, you know, pasting it into the e-commerce platform or uploading the e-commerce platform can now be taken away because that can be done automatically. See if you can improve your brand. Oftentimes, if you had, for example, started on sort of a beginner e-commerce platform, if you will, one that has a lot of restrictions on theming and the size of the logo and what you can do with colors, et cetera, you know, as you prepare to transition into the new platform, maybe it gives you more flexibility in these areas. Talk about the transition in terms of mobility. Mobile is so important now as a way of reaching customers. How are you going to prepare for that? Do you have to think differently about site content? Do you have to think differently about images? Do you have to think differently about servicing customers? Search engines and links. People who know my style of marketing know that I think some of the best search engine optimization you can have is to have great content. I'm a big fan of that. But there's a lot that you've got to do in a transition, an e-commerce platform transition, to take care of search engines and linking. And you're going to want to make sure that your company is prepared with all of its systems. Anything that would touch or interact with the e-commerce platform that's going to be changing, we need to make sure that we've trained folks how to use it, that we've tested to ensure that it's going to work together, and that we're not going to have any surprise problems on go-live day. Finally is the actual making of the transition, when it comes to be time to flip the switch. And I just want to talk about a couple things here that I think will be a huge savings for you. First, you're going to want to make sure that you have tested this thoroughly. You want to have a development environment where you've run the site, you've let all of your key personnel look at it, and try to break it, if you will. Find areas where it's not working. You're going to want to make sure that you've got a rollback plan. When you go live with the new site, you have to be prepared for the necessity of perhaps going back to the old system. You also need to understand that just because you redirect your domain doesn't mean that everybody's going to hit the new domain immediately. There can be a lag time in the domain name system, so that somebody can still end up on the old site. So you want to keep that live so they don't think you've gone out of business, but still monitor that platform at least for a couple of days after the launch. And then you're going to want to really pay attention to how your new platform is performing. If you're not seeing those improvements, you need to actually look back and see why not. I just want to emphasize, I have tried to do a couple things today. I've tried to talk about e-commerce platform transitions in the context of a fight or flight analogy. You need to really look hard at the platform you're doing. You've got problems, but are they problems you should fight within the platform, or is it time for you to move on to something new? You need to identify those kinds of problems that are deal-breaking, relationship-breaking. Choose your next platform carefully and really prepare your business for the transition. Finally, you need to make that transition and then measure results to ensure that the change did, in fact, produce the kinds of benefits that you thought it was going to. What I'd like to do now, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to our sponsor, and that'll be followed by a question and answer period, and I hope that you will begin chatting your questions in, and we will deal with those then.
Thanks, Armando. I'm Brad Court, President of Web to Market. We're happy to be participating as a sponsor because at Web to Market we've seen how important it is to choose the right platform and to plan for the transition carefully. Bear with me for just a moment while I plug Web to Market, and we'll get on to the Q&A. At Web to Market, we help our clients solve challenges, capture opportunities, sell more, and manage better. Web to Market is an e-commerce solutions provider offering strategy, design, development, and managed services for the Magento and Able Commerce platforms. Our strategic consulting provides expert advice, guidance, and solutions from conceptualization to implementation. For example, one of our clients is Georgetown Cupcake. You may have seen the reality show on the Learning Channel. When they came to us 4 years ago, they were looking for a platform that scaled to high volumes of traffic and could be extensively customized to their unique business model. We work with them through the processes of deciding fight or flight, identifying problems, and choosing the next platform. Our design team creates user experiences that engage, excite, and sell. If you look at georgetowncupcake.com, you'll see a unique user interface designed to make it fast and easy to get your cupcakes shipped or delivered locally. Our development team implements strategies by leveraging the latest technologies and best practices. If you want to position your business for the future, you need to be using technologies like HTML5, CSS3, and responsive design. Our development experts help prepare for and make the transition to a powerful new site. Post-launch, we provide managed services including hosting, consulting, system support, and more. Visiting Georgetown one last time, we created infrastructure to support 100,000 visitors in a few hours and provide the training, administrative support, and ongoing performance management needed to achieve success. So how can we help you? All right, let's move on to the Q&A.